Hey guys, welcome in. It's the Sportscast brought to you by the Outspoken Network with your hosts Brian, Jeff, and Craig. We are all back on the show tonight. It's good to have you guys back. How you guys been?
I'm
Howdy.
being good.
Been good. Well, that's good to hear. Been good here as well. We're gonna get on here. We're gonna talk about our top 10 power rankings headed into week 10. We got who's the biggest surprise of the season, who's the biggest disappointment so far the NFL seasons. We'll talk about the games coming up this weekend and maybe get into a little bit of basketball at the end as it started away too. Let's go over who's our biggest. Um, I guess the surprise could go either way, right? Surprise is being bad, or surprise being good. Let's go. Let's go with who's been the best good surprise so far this season, if that makes sense. Um, Craig, we'll start with you. Who do you think's been someone who maybe you think that wasn't going to be as good as they are, and all of a sudden they've been quite a shocker in the good way this year.
Buffalo Bills, and I think that game tomorrow is super important.
Very important.
We both basically cast off Josh Allen, be saying he didn't have. They had gotten rid of all the weapons in the offseason. He didn't really have anybody to. He had the high school wide receiver room to throw the ball to. They had gotten rid of his best target and you know um, his best couple targets and his deep threat and yet he's still they're 8-2. They started really good, then they had a couple down weeks, and now they've ripped off 3 or 4 in a row, and they just look really good. And I'm interested to see tomorrow how they look against the Kansas City and can they beat the juggernaut in the Chiefs.
That's definitely going to be the game of the week to watch right there. That is going to be a game. Also, when you talk about it for the Bills, a mental game. Um,
Right.
can they finally get over the hump of beating the Chiefs? I think you're correct. We both counted off. We both kind of count. How's it going, Cat? Cat is in, showing some love. How's it going, Cat? Good to see you. Um, we we both counted Buffalo out, and here they are, looking like one of the best teams of football. Now, my biggest surprise is because this is a team I thought was going to fall off. I thought was going to be their head coach's first losing season in the history of football for him, and that's the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 7-2. Did not see that coming when you have a quarterback of Justin Fields who's not good, and you have a quarterback in Russell Wilson who we didn't know who he's going to be. We saw Russell Wilson go to Denver and not look very good, wondering if he still had anything left in the tank. And he goes over there, and they smartly move to Russell Wilson over Justin Fields, and he's brought a little bit more of that offense. He's making better decisions for the football. He's throwing the ball downfield. They just beat the Commanders, which was a really good football game. Commanders kind of got cheated at the end, but uh, kudos to Mike Tomlin getting it done with those two quarterbacks who we didn't know what was left in the tank, and that defense has been a force. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are a good surprise for me. Derpy, if you're out there, you're usually on. I'm giving you credit right now, being a Steelers fan, and admitting that I was wrong on your football team. So hope you hear that out there. Jeff, who do you got as a good surprise so far this season? Who stood out to you? Hey,
Your mic's muted.
your mic's muted.
Sorry, it's got to be the
Very
Commanders
good.
to me.
Yeah.
Um, I find it, a team that's had countless issues over the years, whether it's the ownership, whether it's just drafting bad, even going back all the way back to the Mike Shanahan um, time where he made some mistakes there as well that ended up getting fired. So they've had trials and tribulations times 10.
Mhm.
So to see this team 7-4 record, uh, so far so good with the quarterback. Years will tell about that. But this year, I did not expect the Commanders to be as good as they've been, for an organization that's been struggling with a million and one different things. It's pretty surprising to see this turnaround at least this year. I think they have the pieces that will solidify that further going into the next season, and then obviously um, those pieces growing. So yeah, I think if there's any surprise this year, I was kind of shocked to see just how good the Commanders are and how competitive they are. That's the thing. I mean, some of the they're really kind of going up there and trying to go toe to toe with some of these other teams out there that have been doing it for together as a unit for a while. So it's and the quarterback situation there is very interesting. So I like as an overall team, I'm very shocked with them.
100% there, Jeff. Sorry, I almost went with the Commanders myself because they've been a great story. Jane Daniels looks like the best rookie quarterback so far this year. I just had to give it to Pittsburgh because I killed them so much in the offseason, and that's why I did that, and they surprised me. But yeah, you're definitely right with the Commanders. They look like they hit the lottery with the quarterback. They got rid of their ownership group, and they've hired a good head coach. They brought in guys here that seem like they're going to be around for a while. Um, Interested to see how Jane Daniels progresses. Um,
Yeah, I
he
thought it would be a couple of years. Like
mhm.
I saw it
Right.
coming, but I thought it would be a couple years down the road before they gelled it all together. So the
Yeah,
timing of it is what's impressive to me. To
one
do
hundred
Well,
it.
and the
percent.
other thing too about the Steelers, they've always had a good defense.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
they've always been, Tomlin has built they just have built a great defense almost every year. So it is a surprise to, I guess, from the Steelers end, but with the defense that they build, almost they draft well with he just knows how to put all that together. I just think um, the Commanders are the ones where I'm like, wow, okay,
They
this
are.
is surprising.
Definitely way ahead of schedule. Cat says, "How about them Chiefs? You can't argue against it. They're 9-0.
Yeah,
They
field
keep
goals.
winning. They find ways to win. If Denver, I was going. Denver just has to make a field goal here, baby. Let's go. And oh my gosh. So,
Oh yeah.
um, but kudos for Denver for being in that football game, right?
they
That
always play the
they,
Chiefs tough. I said
they
that when
do.
the game started. I thought it would be a tough game, but
It's a close. We've
yeah,
played them close like multiple years in a row,
right,
and so
right.
this one here was. I mean, there was a game 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, where we hand the ball off on the 1 yard line, running back goes, defender unblocked, lights him up, drops the ball, we lose. So
Ryan says the Packers and Broncos stink because he is upset that his Dallas Cowboys are one of the worst teams in football. So I'm sorry, Ryan.
okay,
I'm sorry about your luck. You've had a bad year. It's just not the time. And Enrique says the Cowboys got to win against Houston. Well, that's not going to happen. The defense is going to murder your quarterbacks, and you're not going to win against Houston. But even Netflix plays bad at AT&T.
Yeah,
Yes, that was terrible last night trying to watch the fight. I didn't even end up watching it because it was so bad. But anyways, I digress. If we're gonna go the other way, and we take it to the question of who is the biggest disappointment of the season so far, I'm gonna take this one first, ladies and gentlemen. And I could easily say the Dallas Cowboys here because they've been that bad. Um, but it's to me, it's not the Dallas Cowboys. It is the New York Jets. It is simply the New York Jets. The Cowboys are a close second. Um, because we talked about the Jets. We talked about them being up for the division. We talked about them being a great playoff team. We talked about them. We finally got a healthy Aaron Rodgers. He's got some left in the tank here. Let's see what's going to happen. And they've been absolutely abysmal. Um, Aaron Rodgers looks like he's got nothing left in the tank. You build up the hype from last year. We're ready to see what Aaron Rodgers got left in the tank. He blows his Achilles. All that hype for nothing. They're a bad football team. and then they come back this year, everyone's hyped up, and you look worse than you did last season with Zach Wilson as your quarterback. They go out and they get Devontae Adams. That's going to change everything, and you're still a very bad football team. Aaron, it's time for the Jets to admit we made a mistake with Aaron Rodgers. We got no quarterback, and we're back to square one. So the Jets are the laughing stock, are the biggest disappointment of the NFL season by far. With the Cowboys being a close second because of how bad they are. Um, but at least they have kind of excuse of their quarterback is out for the rest of the year. That's a little bit of an excuse there for that. But Jeff, who do you have as the biggest disappointment so far this season?
I'm gonna have to say and go with your in the Jets. Just there was all this hype leading up to Rodgers being there. The injury last year caused so many issues where it's like, oh, don't worry, like it's because he's hurt, So the fact that they went out and tried to go get his guy this year, even I went back and I watched the game actually. The whole game, the Broncos and Jets, and they don't look good. I don't know what it is, but that was the game where I think the next day they fired the coach or something like that, and it was, and then a couple games later, or a game later, they fired, or there was issues with the offensive coordinator. So I'm like, it just it doesn't look good. And I think we even did our predictions going into the season, and I did predict the Jets to be a playoff team. Just due to the fact that Rodgers is back and this is his moment, I guess, to say, hey, I'm healthy, I'm ready to go. It just nothing seems to be clicking.
No, you're 100% right. They've tried a new head coach. They've tried this. They've tried that. They've done all sorts of things, and it's funny because there was a play where Aaron Rodgers throws an interception because he says that Mike Williams ran the wrong route, basically. But Mike Williams caught the winning touchdown last week against the Commanders and takes a subtle jab at Aaron Rodgers, saying down the red line. So I thought it was kind of funny that he's taking jabs at Rodgers, and it kind of points out to uh, his lack there of leadership. And this thing we've seen in Green Bay at the end of his career is the these guys don't, if unless you're his guy, they don't really fight for him. So I just think I thought he had a little bit more left in the tank. And I told my wife, I was talking to my wife about this. I don't think he retires this year. I don't think his ego and his arrogance will let him retire this bad. You know what I'm saying?
You're
So
not wrong.
we might see another year of Aaron Rodgers where he just wants to hang on and prove something that he's still got something left. But
You're
it's
not
not.
wrong. You're not wrong. I completely agree with that. And that's why I just sat there and I'm like, I don't know what's going on there, but it looks weird. The team is off. Uh, the offensive coordinator, I'm blanking on his name, Hackett. That's the guy he wanted in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's he
They
sucks.
they
It's
brought
like,
in, yeah.
what? What are you
They
talking
have
about?
his
Like,
coaches. They have the New York Packers. They brought in now on Lazar. They go, and they've done all this stuff for him.
I mean, the red flag
And
should have been when he did not want to participate in off-season activities.
yep,
That should have been the red flag right there. And then he's yelling at receivers and you were on the wrong route or we're on the wrong page. I'm like, yeah, you could have fixed that.
yeah.
But
If you showed up to preseason and showed up to mandatory meetings, but
yeah.
Craig, who do you got, bud?
I'm going to go on a little bit on a limb here and say the Miami Dolphins. I mean, I understand Tua's been hurt, but you have a team that even since he's been back, they haven't been the offensive um, firepower that they had last year, and um, it seems like maybe as much as I like Mike McDaniel, that he might be losing the team a little bit. The other day there was an article I read that the running back is wearing one of the Guardian caps, and they ask him, "Hey man, why are you wearing the Guardian cap?" And he's, "Well, you know, the Tua keeps calling me Tanner." He goes, "My name's not Tanner." He says, "Maybe one more hit and I'll be Paul." He says, he said, um, so I'm gonna protect myself. He goes, and I hope he does the same. And I mean, even if that's how you feel, you don't really take shots at your quarterback like that in the open
Yeah.
deal. And so, they've just been a mess. Tyreek getting pulled over on opening day, going to the stadium and resisting arrest and that whole deal. And it's just been a bunch of bad publicity from the gun from them. I picked them to win the division, and they're not even going to make the playoffs. They just seem to be in shambles over in Miami, and um, it may end up costing McDaniel his job. And
Right.
I don't know if they'll be that quick to pull the trigger after the success he's had, but there's a lot going wrong in the Miami organization right now, and um, so that to me is one of the biggest um, disappointments of the year is how not that they've fallen off, but just how far they've fallen off. And even since getting Tua back, the offense hasn't fixed itself and really wasn't good the first couple weeks with him before he got hurt. So there's something definitely off in Miami.
You're 100% right, and it's time at the end of the day to ask the question: Is Tua, can Tua be that guy? Because honestly,
Right. There's been
and I'm
several doubts.
not even talking about his play. I'm talking about we can't have a quarterback who's going to miss 6 games this season due to concussion.
Right.
They can't do that. So,
Well, yeah, you're just gonna have to go spend some money on a backup and
yeah,
prepare for when that happens.
but it's just insane. And he continues. He throws an interception the other day and goes to tackle head first and gets a knee to the side of the head. I'm like, what? What is it going to take for you to understand that I don't need to be doing this? It's insane. I don't know.
I mean, I understand the heat of the moment thing, but I mean, he should definitely be more cautious with the injuries he's had.
100%. But I think maybe things get blown up there in Miami after the end of the season, and it's time to ask the question. Tua might be a good quarterback. Um, he might be good enough to get this team where they want to go. But at the end of the day, if I'm going to miss my starting quarterback and pencil him out for 5 games a year, that's not something I'm going to will be willing to pay and keep
Well, and
going forward
and
with.
not only that, but I mean, really we're talking probably one more good concussion from ending his career.
Yeah,
I mean, at some point, if he's carried off on a stretcher again, um, the
it wouldn't surprise you.
organization's going to say, "Hey, listen, we can't risk that," or they should. The NFL in general might, if he's ever stretchered off again, may just come out and say, "Hey, listen, here's some money. Go enjoy your life. What's left of it."
You know who else we could put in this category, and it's kind of an interesting one. Is the Cincinnati Bengals, and we're talking about a team who Joe Burrow is supposed to be one of the best football quarterbacks in the
Right.
NFL, right there behind Mahomes, and an interesting stat that they brought up a couple weeks ago actually is usually when teams put up 31 points or more, they win more than the majority of those games. And the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Bengals have put up 31 points up and have lost 3 or 4 of those football games. Um, that's a crazy stat to me. If my offense is putting up 31 points and you're not able to win that football game, that's a problem. I think at the end of the day, I think Zach Taylor's last season this season. I think they got to move on from him, and if something's missing there. Um, Joe Burrow's been not as healthy as he should be. All these question marks, and at the end of the day, I think, and after a couple more years, we've got to really look into Joe Burrow, and not we can't give him these excuses. He's got one of the best wide receivers in the game. They've got a good tight end. They lost Mixon, the running back's not all that great. situation. But at the end of the day, Joe Burrow can't turn this around, and next year he gets hurt, or we got to start asking these questions. Okay, Joe Burrow's good, but he's not really winning it here. Um, so I know Zach Taylor could be on the hot seat after the season,
Just
and
another team with just a ton of turmoil.
yeah,
The wide receiver's not getting paid, and now he doesn't even want a contract, even if they offer him one.
Jeff, we talked about this on the phone call we had the other night. Bo Nix looks pretty decent, man. Um, he looks pretty good. I mean, he looks competent back there. I would pit him the third best quarterback. No, the second best quarterback. My bad. Out of the draft this year, Jane Daniels and then Bo Nix. Um,
It's
so
hard. It's hard for me to like
you don't
kind
want to
of.
get too excited, but he's
No,
looking.
yeah, and that's the thing. I don't. I look at it. If somebody asked
He's
me,
progressing.
they're like, what are you expecting? And I'm like, not much. Just I want it to see the progression get better as the season goes on. Then it gives me a good idea for the next season and maybe what to expect going there, and then how he's going to capitalize on what he learned this year to next year, and so on and so forth. So it's not an easy offense to understand in terms of the coach that we have. His playbook is kind of insane. The plays themselves are like 3 sentences long, basically. Um, so you could tell that from the first game, for the very first game of the season, and he'd call the play, and then by the time he got to the line, there's like 7 seconds left. And I'm like, oh yeah, because he's got like, it's Sean Payton. It's he's gonna do all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's one of the reasons why there wasn't issues with Russell Wilson, I think, because he couldn't figure out his coaching style. He couldn't figure out the way Sean Payton. That's what Sean Payton. He's not going to budge, and if he does, he's going to get frustrated. So, Bo Nix has been thriving. He's done some off-script stuff that has made Sean Payton mad. Like one occasion, really, where they're like arguing on the sideline. But it's funny because it was the right play, and Nix improvised on the play, and it almost scored a touchdown, but the wide receiver dropped the ball. So, but but yeah, so it's just things like that. And the funny part is people noticed that when Russell Wilson was yelled at, he just sat back. But when Nix was yelled at, Nix just barked right back at him. I'm like, there you go. And it wasn't like they were at each other's throats, but he was arguing why he changed the script. He saw something. So, it's fun. It's exciting to have this. I just wanted to continue, and it's unbelievable how many quarterbacks have come through here since Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
It's,
when you get a new guy, you want to see progression,
yeah,
and
yeah,
first you want to see that he's competent in the backfield. He's not oh, oh, oh my god, seeing ghosts and all that stuff,
right,
and then
yeah,
you want to see him progress and make the right reads. And Bo Nix is, I think, whatever your record may be at the end of the year,
right,
I think that's not really what Bronco fans are looking at. You're looking at your quarterback, and then the relationship between the head coach and when he
right.
grows into that system, as long as they keep it. I think you got
I mean,
yourself a
it's
pretty good
it's
quarterback.
like if we make the playoffs, awesome, but it's not like I'm going. It's playoffs or bust. This has to have it. That's ridiculous. Like I'm just
Yeah.
having fun watching this quarterback play. That's all.
And I called out Joe Burrow earlier about, we might need to start asking questions, but we might need to start asking questions on Justin Herbert. I'm like, this guy is just, you look at talent wise, it's too good not to be in the MVP talks and in those discussions and leading his team to the playoffs every year. And it's just like, I don't see, I mean, they're not bad. I mean, they're 6-3 right now. So it's not saying he's doing a terrible job, but the Chargers aren't a team that come out and scare me. They're not a team that I come out and go, "Oh man, this quarterback we're playing is really really good." Um, we'll see. I mean, it's the first season there of the new head coach and Harbaugh, and I like Harbaugh, but uh, I don't know. Herbert's not one that you know that I have to put in a top five. I mean, Joe Burrow's still a guy. I go, all right, I still got to put him there. He's still, but we're getting those conversations. All right. Well, and Bearski Film says you need 3 years to evaluate a quarterback properly, and I 100% agree. A lot of teams give up on guys too early, but um, all right. Well, let's get into our Week 10 NFL Power Rankings. We'll go 1 to 5. I think as we get closer to 5, it's a little more interesting than number 1. Craig, who do you got? Who do you got at number 1? You're in your power rankings this week.
Well, until they lose, you can't take Kansas City out of the top spot. They just keep finding ways to win, block field goals and late drives.
Oh, they're your number 1.
Yeah.
Jeff, who you got at number 1, bud?
I can't argue that as much as I want to. Yeah, it's Kansas City, unfortunately. For now, we'll see.
All right. Well, I got the Lions at number 1. The Detroit Lions are to me the best team of football. They are 8-1. They're well coached. They have one of the best offensive coordinators in football. They continue to win a lot of football games. I think on a field right now, I would take the Lions over the Chiefs. Chiefs have had those games
That comeback
where,
win the other day was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was.
yeah, oh yeah,
Down 20.
it made me mad. I'm going to Texans. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It was definitely incredible comeback win. I wasn't happy about it because the Lions are in my division, but I think right now they're a gritty football team that finds multiple ways to win and is well coached on both sides. They have a great roster. And I think if you put them against the Chiefs today, I think the Lions win that football game. So I got the Lions number one, and I can't put the Chiefs below that. So below number 2. So I got Kansas City there at number 2, 9-0. So they're my number 2. Obviously, you're 9-0. You find ways to win. They're blocking field goals to win football games. They're it's not which is crazy, but it's not all relying on Patrick Mahomes, and that's what makes this team so deadly. So, Chiefs at number 2 for me. Craig, who you got at number 2, bud?
I got the Lions. I mean, it's really not really 2; it's 1 and 1A. I mean, they're
pretty much
minuscule points apart. I mean, I think that would be a great football game, especially on a neutral.
It could be the Super Bowl.
I think that's right now. I think right now it's set up to look like that. I mean, those are clearly the leaders in both conferences. You'll see where Buffalo stands tomorrow. The Lions will get a test down the road. With
they got to play Green Bay again
and Minnesota again. They just had an ultimate test against the Texans and came back in when your quarterback throws 5 interceptions and you still win the football game, you're not supposed to win that football game.
Yep, 100%. Jeff, you got anybody other than the Lions at 2?
No.
I didn't think so.
I almost put the Lions 1 just because I think it's
that close.
Super impressive. Like, I'm not impressed with the Chiefs and what they're doing because the Chiefs have been doing stuff like this the last 2 years or so. I think the years prior were more offense, like going nuts. But these last few years have been defense going nuts. And the offense makes a play here, makes a play there. They do what they need to do, but the defense keeps them pretty much in the game. And so, like, that's not so shocking. The Lions doing better than they had been than even last year, it seems like.
Yeah. They just picked up where they
is so good
on the playoff run and just kept going.
So that it was almost a flip for me. I didn't because it's like it's just hard to say like, oh yeah, especially the fact that the Chiefs are 9-0. Kind of hard for me to like change that and just, but in terms of the Lions, that's a scary team, man.
That's a scary football team. Unfortunately, in my division, we're the same. You're a Bronco fan of the division of the Chiefs, and
Oh
now I
yeah,
got to deal with the Lions. God, it sucks, but
we can still split with them. They got
yeah.
to come to Denver.
Oh, we will. We got to go to Detroit the next time. I'm like, son of a god. All right. Well, Craig, who do you got at number 3?
The Bills. I mean, that team is rolling right now, and like I said, tomorrow will be the ultimate test. I don't know where that game is tomorrow. If it is in
I have. Let's see. I have it up. It is at Buffalo.
okay, so
So this is a game they
that's
must. I think it's a not a. I won't say must win, isn't, but it's almost a must win, right? For
yeah.
the psyche.
Well, I mean, for home field advantage, unless you want to go to Kansas City in January, I think it's a must win.
Yeah. I got the Buffalo Bills there too. We talked about it, Craig. We counted this team out in the beginning of the season. Um, and Josh Allen's been playing on a great level, and his team is this head coach is kind of rearing back in, and the Buffalo Bills look to be scary. And you're right. This game tomorrow is, I think, it's kind of a must win for getting over the hump and give them a lot of confidence on the back half of the schedule. Um, Confidence that if we got to play them in this playoffs, hey, we've beat him here. We beat them before,
Yeah,
so it does a lot for them with a win, and with a loss, it could. I mean, it
or
could
a
go.
close loss, like if you
Yeah,
lose in overtime or something like that. But
it
they've
could.
had so many of those games with Kansas City. You really need to get a win.
Yeah, it could go back the other way. Here we go again. We can't beat them, and that could put some doubt in your head, and who knows what happens after the end of that. But Jeff, who do you got at number 3 there, bud?
I got Buffalo because I just think that if they can pull off this win, yeah, if they can try to pull off a win this week, I think it's even more so take them seriously a little bit because I mean I think even in the last game, the first half for Josh Allen wasn't great. Um, so I mean he ended up coming back and they did, and so I think that the Bills are this is a make or break kind of thing. I mean, we've been going over this almost every preseason podcast predictions and whatever. Um,
Allen does seem to falter in the big game.
yeah, so the big game's about to come up, so it's just one of the big games of the season for them. So um, put up or shut up. It's time. The Bills, it's they've got to do something this year, and that's one of the problems. So but yeah, I think that's why I mean, they're there. It's just I want to see a little bit more out of them because I think I think Josh Allen's good, and just want to see him actually succeed against some teams that are going to be right in the mix at the end, especially Kansas City.
Well, thank you, Benjamin. It's not week 10. Just wanted to point that out. It's actually week 11. So I feel like an idiot, but um, and I asked you guys before. You agreed with me that it was 10. Damn it! But oh well, whatever. Thank you for Benjamin for pointing that out. I appreciate it. Now we can. I'll end the podcast and go to sleep. Um, Number 4, I got the Ravens at number 4. Um, they played a tough game last week. They beat the Bengals 35-34. Crazy game that was, an insane game that was. Um, Another game where Bengals score over 31 and they lose. So the Ravens are a good football team. Lamar and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry's been really impressive this year, guys. I mean, I thought he was at the end of his, career here, but apparently they have revived Derrick Henry. He's running like a beast, like a freight train. Um, Lamar's making tough throws, and he's looking pretty good right now. I mean, it all comes down to the playoffs with him, and that's his question mark. So I think you know, I'm gonna be skeptical in playoff games until he proves us otherwise. Um, he's like the Dallas Cowboys in that way. It's skeptical until he proves it. But um, I got Ravens here number 4, and I don't know. I mean, we might have the same finishing of the board here, but let's go ahead with Jeff. Who do you got at number 4 there?
Um, it's Ravens, but it's you know to me, just based off of the way they've been playing so far in the season, um, it was a flip for me. It could have been either or when it comes to the Ravens, and I would even say the Eagles. Um, as odd as that sounds, because they're one of those teams where at any moment they could just fall apart. But the Ravens, I think the difference there is Derrick Henry. I mean that's we've I think I've seen it against the Broncos. I watched them play against the Cowboys. He is a game changer for that team, especially offensively. Just it's another weapon. Um, so I kind of sticking with the board as well on that one.
All right, Craig.
Yeah, I don't like them. I'll never like them, but I have the Ravens here just because of. I mean, you really can't take away. I mean, how you let up 264 yards to one wide receiver and win a football game, I don't know. Um, but
Jamar Chase was going off, man. That was
yeah,
a great game, and they lose.
and I mean he has more yards in 2 games against the Ravens than Tyreek Hill has all year. I think I saw a stat, something like that. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the Ravens. I'm not a fan of Lamar. I'm not a fan of I don't know. I mean, I don't even think if you'd have told them when they signed Henry that you'd have gotten this kind of productivity out of him, I don't even think they would have believed it. Um,
100%. They would have not believed that.
um, so yeah, but I have Baltimore there at 4.
And Jeff, you took number 5. The Eagles are number 5, and I don't think you can have them out of your top 5 at this point. They're 8-2. They went out and they beat the Commanders last week, and you watch this football team and you go, I watch this football team and I go, all right, well they struggle here. This could be the game they falter, and then they somehow turn it on. They scored 20 points in the fourth quarter, beat the Commanders last week. Um, they have those games against the Cowboys. They played the Cowboys. They dominated the Cowboys. But the first half, they're sacking Hurts. They're getting to. I'm like, what's going on here? And they turn it on. They eventually end up doing what they do. Um, that kind of
Right.
football is a little dangerous, especially when you get to the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what I was
But
gonna say.
right now they're 8-2. You can't. I mean, you can't argue right now. They're looking pretty good. We've seen them fall. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them because we've seen them fall off a cliff last year. But uh, I got Eagles there.
I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I got Pittsburgh. I can't. I don't like the Eagles. I don't like Hurts. I don't like the team implosion. I'm just waiting for the chemistry to fail. Um, there's just something not right with that team. I mean, other than Saquon Barkley pulling his fifth Derrick Henry and running through everybody and um, kind of on a revenge tour himself. I think he's what's holding them together. If you can stop the run, I think you can stop the Philadelphia Eagles because I've never been a Jalen Hurts fan. Wasn't a fan when he was in Oklahoma. Wasn't a fan when he was anywhere, and I just don't think he's like even in Bama. I just don't think um, Hurts is the guy. I think you overpaid him. But yeah, I think with the Steelers, the way they've done what they've done and what they've done with those 2 quarterbacks, especially, and then that defense, I think it just puts them as a better team. And the head coach to me is a better head coach. I don't trust Sirianni
Oh
any
no,
farther than
definitely
I can throw him. So I would trust in a game time situation. If I had to pick a head coach, it wouldn't be Sirianni over Tomlin. So give me the Steelers at 5.
not. All right, Jeff, who you got number 5, sir? You got
Um, I'm going with the Steelers. I mean, I mean, like what we're talking about, it's a bit surprise, but defensive wise, I'm not. It's interesting that whatever they're cooking up for us,
Mr. Unlimited.
seems to be working. Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So who knows? Again, it is not like he was horrible here. And I think that's the thing is like everyone that's the narrative. It was like, oh well, what happened there? I'm like, he wasn't bad. The problem is that we had to vanillify our offense. So that's kind of one of the problems was we had to simplify things. That was said 3 times in post game conferences, 3 different times. Um, so then it was once the season was over, you heard behind the scenes that was going on. So it's kind of like, okay, well, maybe that's what's going on in Pittsburgh. Maybe they're just simplifying it for him, but it seems to be working. And if it's working right now, I mean, I don't have anywhere else to put Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh ultimately is in that should be in that spot.
All right, guys. Well, that's your week 11 power rankings. Thank you, Benjamin. Week 11 power rankings. I mean, down the board, pretty close. Um, as it's going to get that way. The games tomorrow, if we get into the games tomorrow, I mean, the biggest game we already talked about, Chiefs Bills. Um, you got a great Monday night matchup, man. Houston and the Dallas Cowboys. That's going to be a terrible game. But Seattle and the 49ers, they always play each other pretty well.
Yeah, anybody in the West, none of them have looked great. They've all had their flaws. You got McCaffrey back. We'll see what that looks like after week in his second week back. Does he have any fall off from the double Achilles, tendonitis or whatever the hell it was?
And I mean, in that division, I think the Cardinals have kind of surprised me the most. 6-4, winning it right now.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
I don't trust them. But
you never know with Kyler.
yeah, he's so hit or miss and inconsistent.
Well, that and he almost died the other day.
Oh, dude. So when his head went flying 10 feet. Whew. You got the oldest rivalry in football this weekend, Packers Bears, and
Yep.
I'm sorry, Bearski Films. It hasn't been much of a rivalry because we've owned you, and I don't think it's going to be much better for you tomorrow. But
I
we
hope
shall
it is
see.
just so I can text you and talk to you. But
Paul has already said, "Congratulations on your free win tomorrow." Like, it's not good.
Well,
Caleb Williams
they're already talking about that. They considered benching Caleb Williams to save him.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this real quick because Paul was filling me in on all the Bear news. The Bears team went in and said, "You need to get rid of this offensive coordinator. We demand it." Well, they fired their offensive coordinator. It wasn't a head coach decision. It wasn't a front office decision. The team made that decision, and they had veteran wide receivers asking to bench Caleb Williams for their backup. That's not a good look. And
wide receivers walking off the field in the
middle
of a play.
Middle of a play, just walk to the bench. So, and I don't want to seem like I'm picking on the Bears and making fun of it, but
you can't overlook that. When a wide receiver walks off the field and puts his helmet off and goes and sits on the bench while your quarterback's still running around.
Here's the problem.
To overlook.
Here's the problem. So we talked about it with Bo Nix. You want to see competent, and you want to see him progress.
Well, there was some.
Well, yes, exactly. Game one, he looked incompetent in the backfield. I was like, that was the worst showing of a quarterback I've ever seen. Then he progressed a little bit, and then it's gone completely south. He's actually he's the worst thrower of the football 15 yards down the football field. He has the worst accuracy and completion percentage 15 yards or further down the football field.
Might be wide receivers that don't want to run routes for you.
Or I mean, they're not trying it. Someone pointed that out the other day. Like, we can blame the quarterback and coaching, but here's a play that if this wide receiver blocks, if he blocks this guy, the screen goes for a touchdown. He lets 2 guys go past him and make a tackle, and they lose 3 yards in the backfield. And you're like, what was that? A lack of effort. which is comes to coaching, which I beat the bush with Paul that their
Yeah,
coaching's terrible and he shouldn't have
Beaver
even.
should have been gone years ago.
Hmm. So I mean, like I said, you need a couple years to evaluate a quarterback, but right now it's not what they're looking for in Chicago so far this season. But he's getting sacked. He got sacked 9 times last week, running around. And I told my wife, I go, you see Patrick Mahomes do that? He runs around, makes a guy miss, and makes a beautiful throw downfield. The guy that is in the end zone makes a touchdown, and you're going, my gosh.
But
Caleb
yeah,
Williams does that, and he runs around, he runs around, he runs around, and he throws the ball, and you're going, who the hell was he throwing that to? Like
yeah,
way
but
off.
I
Way
mean,
it's like,
but I
oh,
mean,
just bad.
Patrick Mahomes has been playing with the same team, same
No,
guys
not
for.
really. I mean, he's got a few guys, but he's had new wide receivers. That's been the problem. That was the problem last year. People were dropping balls, and
But he knows where they're going to be. Caleb
well,
Williams doesn't know where they're going to be. You know,
I
Paul said,
think
I would love to give you guys an
hell,
insight of
you
how
can't
bad it
even if
really
he
is.
does find his wide receiver. The open one was sitting on the bench. You can't throw it to him.
He literally walked to the bench, and Caleb broke another tackle and spun around the other way, and I'm like, this dude's on the bench. What in the world? I
the
don't
other
I
know.
thing,
mean, the
the
other
other thing
day when he got
too,
sacked, the defense had to pick him up off the thing. Like his own team didn't even go over and pick him up.
the other thing too is from what I can tell, he's holding on the ball
He's on the
for
ball
like
way too
6 seconds. I'm like,
way too long. Mhm. And that's
even
something.
if there's no play, throw it away.
Well, that's because
Like
that's what he
get
did
rid
in
of the
college.
ball.
That's what he did in college, right? I mean, you saw him. He'd run around, make plays, and he would throw a pretty accurate ball. And now that ball's not so accurate, and it's like, well, what do we? It's not looking very good in the
I
Bear country. There, they are.
I mean, and
They've hit
please
the
don't get
panic
me
button.
wrong. I don't. I'm not a Caleb Williams, supporter. I don't think he's going to be. When they drafted him, I thought it was a stretch. But I mean, give the guy some kind of credit when your team's quitting on you. And like I said, there's there's a offensive lineman in San Diego, and Herbert gets rolled up on, and the guy grabs his ankle, and the lineman spears the guy on the ground from because they touch his quarterback. And then you look at the Bears where Caleb Williams gets planted in the turf and nobody's around, and the defense guy feels bad, like, here, let me help you out, and there's not a Bear jersey around. I mean, there's just the two differences in the organization.
And I think a lot of it, honestly, goes to coaching. And these players might know, like, this guy sucks, and we're not going to be able to do anything until next season, and when we get rid of him, because these are veteran guys.
well, and maybe it is a situation where there were so many holes to fill that yeah, you have the good quarterback. You just gotta. It's gonna take years to get these pieces all in. I don't know.
What's up, Paul? I see you wanted to come in and chime in on the panic button that the Bears fans are hitting right now.
Yeah, I
Chicago.
do. Man, it's just the dysfunction is so crazy here, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of an inside look at what's going on. So, essentially, after that last game, Flus came out and had a press conference and said he's still evaluating things on Monday. And then what happened was the players themselves in the locker room got together and voiced their opinions on moving on from Shane Waldron, which kind of forced his hand to actually make that move because I don't think he was going to do it. I really don't. And so, they talk about accountability and they say that word all the time. However, they were about to just not hold anybody accountable again. And in the past, he sat there and just pointed fingers at the players and at the execution and things like that, never at themselves unless it was a positive thing. Like if they had a win, I had this one clip of him going, yeah, that was a really good call by the defensive coordinator. That would be me. And I was just like, are you kidding? Like you're going to go out there and say that after you sit there and throw players under the bus? So, so the players themselves kind of demanded that. And then, the reports are that he still had to go to polls and then Kevin Warren and then George McCaskey. So he had to go to the GM, the president, and the owner, clear it with all of them to move on from them. And then, not only that, but he also delayed this press conference like 2 hours. And, guys, like during an NFL week, you need every minute you can to prepare for next week, right? You don't need to sit there and waste time pondering about obvious things that you should be doing. Shane Waldron should have been fired right after that game. But if Eberflus was a real coach that actually knew what he was doing. So after the players demanded all that, they promote this guy, Thomas Brown, and right away you see these obvious moves that just should have been made. Nate Davis got cut. That should have happened a long time ago, and so like I don't know. It's really really bleak. It seems like the coaching staff is clearly the problem. That's an uphill battle for any team, any
Mhm.
player. And, I talked about anytime you have a rookie quarterback, there's still a growth that has to happen, right? So, like Caleb Williams, it's such an unfair battle to him because they're just not doing right by him. So it's kind of hard because now we're doing the same thing we've done before, where it's like we're just creating bad habits for this kid that he's going to, probably repeat. We're ruining a quarterback. We're not growing one. So yeah, it's bad, bad, bad,
Well, and
bad,
when you
bad.
got a coach that you don't respect or you don't believe is going to get the job done, what's your motivation level? I mean, to go out and actually
Apparently
fight
none.
fight for them. And you know, I think Paul. I mean, you've said it before. You don't really care for Dan Campbell and his rah rah, but I think you've got to have some of that. There to get your players to. It sounds like the Lions players want to run through a wall and bite kneecaps off for Dan Campbell. And once you lose a locker room, which I believe the you know you have there in Chicago, um,
Yeah, about 3 years ago.
and I wouldn't say it's so bad that like with the whole the players are just going crazy and you've lost the locker room and it's that bad, but I think they've kind of melded into the we just don't care at this point. Like I care to go out and maybe get my stats the best I can and but for winning for a team at this moment in time with a head coach that we don't like, and a change is coming, what's your motivation?
Yeah,
So
the locker room at this point is coaching themselves,
what,
and I think
what,
that's evident from this last week and all this information that came
let
out.
letting a team make a decision on personnel on your coaching staff is not that's not a good thing. That lets the it's a bad saying, but the prisoners run the asylum. Um, I know that's not a very good analogy here, but it's the same thing. You're letting the players run the team when it needs to be the other way around, and you know, um,
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of obvious too. And the worst part about it is the Bears were the first ones to hire an offensive coordinator this past offseason. They didn't hire the number one offensive coordinator, but Shane Waldron was the first offensive coordinator to get hired by a team. So they moved this, they made this move pretty quickly. And um, there was just so much dysfunction schematic wise. You hear the term stick to the run, stick to the run. Yeah, so you can build play action off of it. They didn't do that at all. They just stuck to the run because they heard they needed to. And that's why these players like DJ Moore, you could just see it in their body language. They're done. They are in it for themselves. DJ Moore just signed a contract here.
yeah, it was a good
Yeah,
pickup. I mean, the
it's
guy's a great
embarrassing.
player.
It's embarrassing. Extremely embarrassing. So
I mean, I
yeah,
agree with you. I think I think the coaching is they just need to completely shake it all, um, because it's just it seems
And
like there's just bad overall there, and I don't think necessarily it's hard to just say it would be ridiculous to think it's just the players. I think it's hard to evaluate a rookie quarterback with bad coaching. It's hard to motivate players with bad coaching. I mean, it's just you just can't. It has to be that. It can't just be every one of these guys just stop caring. Like I just think that it's they stop caring for this coaching staff.
yeah,
But
and you can see Caleb Williams on the sideline with Shane Waldron, and he's just shaking his head. He's like, I don't want to talk to this guy.
well,
They're
I
button
mean,
heads, and
if we go back and look at some of this, examples of past, I think each one of us, our teams have had an instance where the players don't listen to the coach anymore. I mean, I know the Cowboys have had that. I know the Packers
McCarthy,
have had that.
yeah,
The Broncos have definitely gone through that. So it's like, you know, I mean, you can tell when it happens. It's crazy. You're just going, oh wow, okay, this is where we're at.
Yeah, and I don't mean to hijack your guys' show, so if you want, I'll bounce out after this. I just felt it was a lot easier to share that opinion,
No, you're
vocally
fine.
rather
We
than texting.
Yeah.
we're
So
almost done with the show. Anyways, I think we're just kind of
yeah,
spitballing some sports talk now. But
but I mean, at the end of the day, when there's clear and obvious issues personnel wise, right? Like we're having struggles on the offensive line. Okay, then why are you
big
running
time.
five wide? Why are you
Yeah,
running five wide out there,
yeah.
shotgun? If you know it's just not going to work. Like at this point, you should just play two tight ends, two wide receivers, try and give the kid as much blocking as you can. Hell, take one of your running backs, put him as a fullback in there.
Help
Roshan
them
Johnson
out.
can block. Yeah, exactly. Do whatever you
Mm.
can and make it simple so you build a foundation. And it's insane to me that we're in week 10 still trying to build a foundation, still trying to find an identity. It's just that's where the play calling and the offensive coordinator kind of comes into play because, these players all when you think he's stupid, you stop trying, right? In week 3, Caleb was running to the sideline, chewing him out for not getting the play in fast enough. You look at now, he's just sitting there rolling his eyes like I can't overcome this. So he tried.
And I think you'll see a difference this week. I don't know if it's the difference in enough that you beat Green Bay. I don't think so, but you're gonna see the help for Caleb. You're gonna see different plays. You're gonna see run the ball more, play action. Well, I mean, you'd hope to see those things if you're. I think you're going to do it because I mean, if you made the change and you fired a guy and they continue to go out and do the same thing, you're going, well, what do we
I
make a
mean,
change for at that point? But
at this point, maybe the players need to play for each other,
yeah,
like for as a unit, each other. I mean, it's just like obviously the coaching is some of the problem, and so I mean, you know what? Just
well,
I
and
don't
that
know.
that gives you if you fire your offensive coordinator, which I don't know how your head coach has sur- s- survived getting rid of the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and then this season firing offensive coordinator. Usually they just fire the head coach. Um, but then this
Because
might give you a little advantage on offense because Green Bay doesn't know what you're going to be calling now. Like they have, you know what I mean? Like they might change it up a little bit. Not that still pick the Bears or the Packers to beat you, but and these games are always closer, and they don't they're always closer than you'd like it to be. But
Well,
yeah,
and
and
sorry, the thing,
no, go
thing,
go for it.
one thing was my other concern is that with bad play calling and bad stuff going on there, you're setting it up for people getting hurt, and it's like that's the last thing anybody wants to see is Caleb Williams get injured, and you're like, great, what kind of injury this is? How long is it going to be? Like, it's or any other player, you don't want that. So I think at this point, it's you know the I'd love to see, and I don't know, I haven't been watching the games, of course, but I don't know how many times if he's about to get sacked, how many times he's throwing that ball away, saying, you know what, I'm protecting myself here. Like we're not going to be doing that.
Yeah, there was a damning stat that came out last game where they were in a 3rd and 3, and the announcer said, "This is the worst team at 3rd and 3s in the league. Whenever they're in that position, they convert the least out. That's what teams look to be in. You want to
yeah,
be in 3rd and 3 and under. And so, I know
yeah,
Peyton Manning holds the interception record, the rookie interception record at 28, and he was able to learn from those picks, come back and make adjustments. You're not learning anything from getting your head bashed in.
yeah.
Sacks over and over don't teach you anything. And Craig, I actually have been using this as an example recently. Why were the Cowboys able to succeed with Dak Prescott, him being a 4th round pick? You had the best offensive line in the league.
Mhm.
So you're able to make it easy and comfortable for a guy to be able to grow.
100%. 100%. Yeah, the Dak had a lot of good stuff his rookie year, and then he came out and won with it. But all right, I think that is gonna be the show tonight, guys. We ended up on some bear. How the hell did we end up on bear talk? Damn it, Paul.
I mean,
Can I
it's a big topic. I mean, it's a big
It
conversation
is.
piece. So
It is.
it's
Can I
something
throw
to talk
one more
about.
thing at Craig real quick?
Yeah.
Sorry, Craig.
Get in line.
I always actually talked about how interesting it was the way the Dallas Stadium was built because I've noticed in the 3 o'clock games.
Yeah. Jerry Jones doesn't have a compass. We get it.
Well, no, but they've actually used it to their advantage because I've noticed in the 3 o'clock games, if they win the coin
Yeah.
toss, they specifically pick which side, who
And that's why
receives and
Jerry
whatnot.
was saying. That's why Jerry was saying we know where the sun's going to be. We're not putting curtains up.
Right.
We
Because
we know where it's going to be, what time of the day it's going to be there. But when your wide receiver can't see a football,
and
didn't work
usually
to your
it's the other
advantage in
team's
that.
wide receivers, so it was kind of funny to see.
But the fun part is last night for the Tyson fight, they put up curtains. So
That's the funny thing. The curtains are there, and they're able to use
for
them.
events, right? For concerts, yes.
But Jerry's so stubborn. He's like, "No, I'm not doing it." All right. Well, when CeeDee Lamb misses a touchdown, hits him right in the hip, and he doesn't even see it, and he's like, "I can't." Okay. Well, then you're doing a detriment to your own team. Like, it's
Do
stupid.
you?
It's stupid. And it was the laughing stock of the week this week. So, all right, guys. Well, that is the show tonight. Craig's gonna
At
go
least
jump
somebody's
on
listening to what I say, Paul. Good to
the
know.
UFC. But that's the show. Thanks for jumping on, Paul, and giving us the inside scoop of the
I'm gonna go watch
panic
John
button in
Jones
Chicago.
mash Stipe Miocic's head in.
I'm gonna go play Call of Duty. I've been playing Call of Duty.
Take a nap.
Yeah,
But,
thank you guys
And
for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah, no
course,
problem,
sir.
Paul.
All right, guys. God bless, and remember,
Keep it outspoken.
Keep it outspoken.
Awesome. We really didn't have much